Welcome everyone to another episode of Overcome. Today, I'm very excited to talk with an old friend of mine. We met some years ago when she was still training to become an IFBB PRO, and she actually did. She conquered her pro card in the bodybuilding industry. She did an amazing job there, and then she migrated to IBJJF to become a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu athlete. And since then, she has doing amazing things in this field. She won the World Championship for last year. She won the Pan this year. Yesterday, she actually won double gold in the Houston Pro Open. So there is a lot of things to talk to her about this transition from from bodybuilding to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and you're gonna learn a lot of insights from someone that knows about nutrition, physical training, and Jiu Jitsu, and of course, a lot of good stories about overcoming obstacles. So let's get started. My friend Casidy Welch, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being here today.
Hello, Yuri. How are you?
Good, good. First of all, it's a pleasure to have you here, mainly after another double gold yesterday. Congratulations for such an amazing achievement. I was not expecting something else because it's becoming very common for you to do that.
Thank you. So yesterday was a good success. We love the Houston Open. It's a big tournament for Gracie Baja, Texas. So because it's in our hometown, so we do try really hard at that tournament, and so it was good. It was a good feeling to bring home double gold again, and that's been for me. I have this feeling of like I have to, because for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, I've won that tournament. So I feel like pressure every year that like, okay, I feel like people are coming after me, and so it was good to win that particular tournament.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to defend your title, right?
Yeah. Um, that especially that one, and that one's really important for my professor for Draculino. So like it's really important that we do well at Houston Open. I feel like I almost feel more pressure at Houston Open than I do even whenever I compete at bigger tournaments like the Worlds and Pans.
Really
Don't feel,
interesting.
I don't know why. It's just because that tournament is so important to us. We've won
To the
tournament.
team, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
and,
it's
and
more.
then probably there is a big expectation on you as well, competing at home and all that, so it puts more pressure.
You know what? I actually don't feel that. Because um, it's interesting, especially right now with COVID and everything. But we don't have spectators, so that aspect of it doesn't feel so much like pressure. So it doesn't really matter if I'm traveling, because social media makes it to where everyone's going to see everything, and we have Flow Grappling recording all of our matches
Hmm.
where I compete. So like it's worldwide, online, on TV. Sometimes I was on UFC Fight Pass recently.
Oh,
So
I saw that. It was amazing. It
there,
was cool because both of you were laughing during the picture, and it was very friendly environment.
well, me and Melissa have competed before at Third Coast Grappling. So this was our second competition, and she's a personal. She's kind of like, it's almost like competing against myself. She's my similar age, which is not normal. Normally, I'm competing against much younger girls in super fights. So she's actually my age. She's a personal trainer as well. She's she lifts a lot. She understands the transition from kind of a bodybuilding mentality to jujitsu. She's super strong like me, so
Hmm.
it's a good matchup. And we're just good friends. I feel like the Houston area has some really good female athletes, and we all are pretty. We see each other a lot. We all compete at similar tournaments, so uh, you know, we're friends,
Yep.
and then we compete. And competition for me is not a fight; it's more like a chess match.
Hmm. Now, that's the theme of this podcast is overcome, and I'd like to start talking about the first overcome, because I met you when we were training for bodybuilding shows here in the FW area, and you were
Hmm.
chasing your pro card during that time.
Yeah.
It didn't come in the first attempt, and we know that bodybuilding takes a long time to really build the physique on the national stage level. So how was the feeling of achieving that pro card? Do you think that that feeling of overcoming all these obstacles, it was probably the best feeling on your career so far?
Hmm. No, honestly, I think jujitsu, for me, has the winning in jujitsu has been a more fulfilling um, feeling for me than bodybuilding did. Bodybuilding was unique, and bodybuilding for me, and I think everyone has a different reason why they love bodybuilding or choose bodybuilding. For me, bodybuilding was a time when I had gone through a divorce. It was like a weird it was almost like like I'd gone through a breakup, and it was my rebound boyfriend. It's kind of what bodybuilding was for me, and it's kind of like my ex-boyfriend now.
Well, but you were passionate about, and what I would like you to put yourself into is the feeling at the exact moment. Because right now, of course, you are way more passionate about BJJ. But
Of course.
if you recall that time, that
Oh,
feeling, that moment, I'm pretty sure that was amazing.
it no, it was incredible. But I had worked so hard up to like the last, I don't know, 3 months before I went to North Americans where I won my pro card. Um, I at that point had really decided, like, because winning your pro card as a female, you know, there's so much that goes into that next level. So it was like, if I win my pro card, then what am I going to do with my pro card?
Yep.
And that, for me, winning my pro card meant I was done bodybuilding for me, and I knew that.
Okay.
And it was like a bittersweet, maybe, because I was not going to continue. I wasn't going to continue bodybuilding at that.
Level.
I, yeah, I couldn't go to that level without starting to do some real damage to my body.
Right. And also in so on that line of thought, you actually never thought of doing a pro debut. You never had a pro
No,
debut, right?
nope. I just couldn't, because I wasn't willing to do do all of the things that it was going to take to do that,
Hmm.
which is, putting substances in my body that were going to chemically change me probably forever.
Right.
And that happens, so I knew I had reached the maximum level that I could, and that things were going to have to change if I wanted to continue bodybuilding, and if I won my pro card. Now, if I hadn't won my pro card, I was going to continue probably to until I won my pro card, because I'm that way. I set goals, and I go and accomplish them. And at the time, as you know, I was coaching.
Hmm.
I had a lot of clients who were bodybuilders,
Right.
some professional bodybuilders. I was posing professional bodybuilders. So I had a lot of pressure from the industry, and I worked with one of the best bodybuilding coaches,
Yep.
in Dallas, and probably in the nation.
Hmm. And
So,
honestly, I think that the pro card set the foundation for you for what you are today as a professor, a personal trainer. So you gain a lot with that pro card. You build your brand. So as much as you are not doing bodybuilding anymore, I think you always gonna be
mhm.
someone involved because you are a personal
It,
trainer. So it builds your who you are.
absolutely, it's very much the foundation of who I have become, as an adult, as a grown up, and as a human, and as a coach, and trainer, and I own a gym, as a on every aspect of my life. I think that transition from being in I came from a human resources in a hospital, from an HR background, just normal professional job, 9 to 5, um, to what's completely
Yeah.
different, being, owning your own business and entrepreneur and being self-employed and having to build your own schedule. It's a lot different. But bodybuilding and the all of the things that bodybuilding takes to be um,
All the discipline, all the perseverance, everything. You change completely your mindset on how to approach things. So it even probably helps today for you on a BJJ world because
yeah.
you have the physical condition, the strength, the strong mindset. So those things you inherited from the bodybuilding.
Yes, I think the mindset's probably the biggest. And I mean, the name of your podcast is Overcome. I think that's part of the overcoming, like the mindset and the no quits, no matter how long it takes. Bodybuilding takes a long time. You don't compete in bodybuilding. You can't compete in bodybuilding every weekend
Hmm.
time. So I feel like in jujitsu, belting, and progressing, even getting, your stripes on your belts, like that's time. And some people are too impatient, especially in today's world. We're a here and now, results now kind of world. And I feel like bodybuilding really prepared me for the patience it takes in jujitsu.
In other hand, in jiu-jitsu, you can compete every weekend because there are so many competitions nowadays. Not only IBJJF, but Hunter Pro, Submission Pro. I mean, there are so many opportunities for you to compete that if you want to compete every month, there is always something out there.
I think I have been competing every month for like the last few months.
Even
Sometimes,
with COVID?
yes, I feel like I've competed more during COVID, especially the last few months. I've been competing, let's see, I want to say at least 2 or 3 times a month.
Wow.
It's super fights and tournaments.
Wow.
So a lot, but we were having the Third Coast Grappling super fights at our gym.
Hmm.
And so that made it very convenient, obviously. And then they were doing those like almost every other weekend or every third week
Yeah, I
during
remember
COVID.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Is
had
that your gym?
yes.
Oh, nice. And so you still training people for shows or prep coach or not that anymore?
No, I actually, whenever people come to me for prep, I typically will either I'll just refer them out.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't it's hard. The I think that I got morally conflicted at some point in my career where I felt like and with bodybuilding, especially coaching women, I felt like there was this damage that typically happens mentally and internally, physically,
Hmm.
hormonally,
Right.
and very few women are able to manage bodybuilding and maintain their physical and mental health.
And stay
And
feminine.
yes,
Yeah.
and so I feel like my job
But
and my call
but do you
really,
still coaching people that want to, for example, do a body transformation, and so you will not
yeah,
only train them from the physical perspective, but also nutrition as well?
yes.
Okay.
So I do, yes. But whenever it comes to like show prep and stuff and really depleting the body down, I think that there are people that are better than me, that I can refer people to. It's not about money for me. It really is about helping people be healthy and fit. And for me, I found that bodybuilding, um, as I was actually able, and I feel very blessed. I feel like Jeff did a really good job with me, helping me maintain a good, healthy mindset,
Yeah.
and good physical health. But even with all of the things that we did and all of the as careful as we were, I still had a lot of hormone like balancing for about 2 years after I stopped bodybuilding. There was a process of like getting my
Almost like a
hormones.
detox process.
Yes, and it wasn't that 2 years of my body not responding and not, you know, to cardio and lifting, and I had to my adrenal system was just shot, and so there was a lot of things, in hindsight, you realize, okay, I thought I was being healthy, but maybe it wasn't that healthy for me. If it caused that much turmoil in my body, into my hormone system, in my adrenal system, then what I thought I was doing and being healthy, and you think you're eating so healthy, but
Hmm.
it's depleting the body and of things that it needs. And ultimately, I just felt like I could I can help people be healthy and fit. And for me, it morally, I have a hard time with the other stuff because I can't. Once people start going into bodybuilding, it's hard to step back and have a really clear
Yep.
look at yourself. And am I healthy, or am I pushing
Yeah,
myself?
but to be honest and fair, you never changed drastically your face or your structure. Even
Yeah.
when you were on peak, and even when you were on the peak week, very depleted, you were always extremely feminine. I mean, you always look healthy.
Yeah, but that was a big focus of my prep, and something that when Jeff and I sat down, that was the at the top of my priorities, you
Yeah.
know, I
So you always
want to be,
were very conscious about that.
yes,
Yeah.
about
Now,
getting my
that's you brought up a good point about cardio and conditioning. I remember that even when you were here in Dallas and you were doing bodybuilding, you were white belt during that time,
hmm
and you did some no-gi stuff. So the question is, and you told me once that you were doing those Naga competitions and things like that during your off season, right? Uh, do you feel your condition on the mats is much better today that you are off completely from bodybuilding than it was in the past?
Oh yeah. So what I found, because I did for about 2 shows in my off season, just really to change up my cardio, I started jujitsu. So I went to Next Generation MMA and with Chris Brennan in Frisco. They're right there by where I trained at Willow Bend, and started doing nogi to just for conditioning, for a way in my off season, just not to bounce too hard and get
Hmm.
overweight, and not be just stuck on a stairmaster all off season, because we kind of get that way during
Yes.
prep. So I just thought it would be fun to do something else. So that's kind of where that came from, and then I just kind of fell in love with it, and I didn't expect that. And I did one competition, and I was like, man, I really like this, and it's a little bit is kind of like the more instant gratification, like you train really hard and then you can go compete and see where you need to improve and where not. Whereas bodybuilding, you train really hard, and it's like months before you get on stage that one time, and it's really relative to who's standing next to
Right, it's
you.
extremely subjective because you can do a lot of
Yeah.
work, and the referee will not like your physique. That not the referee, the
hmm
judges will not like your physique.
and, and then a lot of time it's very subjective, and I think it was the subjectiveness of bodybuilding that was really hard, for me to, I was, again, very, I feel like I got very lucky, and I didn't ever really feel like, me personally, I had any judges like just completely do me wrong, but I saw it. I saw it happen multiple times, where I'm sitting there watching a show, and it was like, how did that person win and this person didn't? Um, and so it's interesting. It was very, and so I liked that in jiu-jitsu. I go and I train hard, and if I train hard enough and then I go compete, I either win or I lose. And if I lose, then I find some things I need to work on, and then I can go back and work on those things. And then I can go compete as soon as I'm ready, as soon as I feel like I've fixed those things, and I don't have to wait another, you know,
Right, right.
6 months before.
So in summary, going back to the initial question, you think your cardio today is much better?
Yes, absolutely. Because in bodybuilding, we couldn't do too much
Hmm.
cardio. So I had an edge. And that was something that Jeff and I, he made me stop doing jujitsu whenever I was prepping for North Americans for my pro card, because I was just losing too fat. It was too
Yeah.
much. So I had to pull it back. And I stay pretty lean. I stay so lean in jujitsu even now. that, my menstrual cycle, I don't have that anymore. And it's not because I'm like too lean, like my body fat's not too low. It's just from consistent training, I guess. But I just don't. It's weird. And but if I take, like if I were to take like 3 or 4 weeks off, like whenever COVID first hit, then my body will start to go back to normal. But whenever I'm training the 4, 5, 6 days a week like I normally do, it just goes away. Now in bodybuilding, lifting, weight training, that doesn't happen.
Now,
So
one thing that is interesting to me because I did my not transition per se. I started training jiu-jitsu in 2018, and you know how white belts get injury all the time. So it happened to me as well. On the first year, got beat up pretty bad, but never something so serious as I had recently when I was competing at the Austin Open. And when I was talking to some friends, I said, "Look, I bodybuilding for almost 8 years, and I never got injury ever. Lifting tons of weight, lifted a lot of weight, training heavy, and never got injury. In jiu-jitsu, it happened to me already many times to get injury. Do you also feel that you are way more exposed to injury on jiu-jitsu? I know that you never had a big one, but do you feel that it makes sense to be more exposed to injuries?
well, yeah, it does absolutely make sense, and I see it all the time. And I've been very lucky, and I haven't had any major injuries. The worst injuries that I've had was I popped a rib one time, and that's very painful. Actually, I've done that a couple times. And uh, let's see.
Rolling? Oh, competition.
Uh, that was just rolling. I think that was actually drilling. I think we were drilling some judo throws, and I just landed wrong on the mat. And sometimes that just
Mm-hmm.
happens. You tense up at the wrong time, and I think the only other thing I had turf toe for a while. Do you know what that is?
No.
Where it's the knuckle of your big
Mm.
toe. It's like you pivot
Ooh.
wrong, and it strains that knuckle.
Mm-hmm.
So then literally just walking, standing hurts. So that one took about 2 months to heal, but I got this toe spacer thing which fixed it. So I've been really lucky. I've had some broken fingers, and
Yeah, because I see way more often people in the jiu-jitsu industry having knee problems, ankle problems, and having to go to surgery. You see all the time. Someone from your gym, I think Pedro Marinho, he had recently had to go to a surgery as well. So it happens way more often.
I think shoulders, knees, like clavicle. So I see a lot of clavicle injuries, shoulder and
Hmm.
collarbone, knees for sure. I hurt my knee mountain biking when we went to
Yeah, I saw
Colorado.
that. That was crazy because you just went back, you stitched, and then you went back to ride again. Crazy.
But we were on vacation and my kids were there, and I wanted them to have fun, and we went. So I had stitches that night, and then the next day we were scheduled to go whitewater rafting. So I went whitewater rafting, and like 12-hour-old stitches, like 14 stitches in my knee. I just couldn't get in the water, or like physically swim in the
Hmm.
water. But I whitewater rafted with it like that, and it was fine. I mean, it's painful. Of course, it was like throbbing and stuff, but it was fine. So yeah, I mean, my injuries happen off the mat. I haven't really had any major, but I see it happen a lot.
But so
So
when you were on the bodybuilding, lifting heavy, you also didn't have any problem, right?
no, pull like I would get like when when you get like the neck, the tenseness in the
Hmm.
neck.
Yeah, just some
Um,
soreness here and there. Not nothing major.
no, it's some lower back stuff because I did go to MAT. You remember Jake
Yep.
uh,
Hmm.
Philippin? I went times for like some hip and lower back stuff, and then my shoulder. I had a couple of shoulder injuries from doing overhead shoulder
Hmm.
presses. But no, I didn't. I've been a pretty. My body doesn't get injured very
That's
easy.
great. That's
Yet.
great. And I've seen some of your fights, and I noticed that most of the time you pull guard and you like to play on the bottom, and then there's a lot of armbar triangle that you do, and it's almost, it feels like playing on bottom is safer from the injury perspective, because I like to play on top, so putting pressure, and it feels like I'm more exposed, and whoever plays on bottom, I've seen many times, people are just safer, they feel safer from the injury, from something happens, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I completely agree with that. For me, I actually prefer to be on bottom, I guess, but or I used to. Now I like to be on top, but I listen to my coaches, and if I have coaches there, eh, they like my bottom game because they always tell me to
Mm.
pull. And for me, I think there's like ego, and I'm like, I have to get my takedown points. So I feel like I'm always wanting to like work at it. And if I fail, I fail. And the worst case is they'll get some takedown points and I'll have to work my way back. But I like to fight for the takedown points just because I feel like it's points that just get
Yeah, but
missed.
yesterday was like 23 seconds you won the fight, and you pull, and you did an arm bar. So I was like, that's your game.
The game plan, and that was because my professor, I spoke with Professor Brandon Mullins between matches, so I was going against the same girl again, and we knew that. So I asked him, and it had gone pretty fast the first match, and she didn't feel it wasn't a bit really big challenge. And so I asked him if I should maybe like try to work on some things. I was thinking like work on a takedown or work on, you know, I was thinking he would give me a particular um,
Hmm.
submission to finish with, and then I was just going to do that. And he actually was like, he just said, "No, I think you should just finish it as fast as possible and painless as possible." So he said just pull and finish it. And so that was my game plan, and that's why it was so fast because that's what he told me to do.
Wow, that's interesting. So you are that flexible that you don't have like a preferred game, and you can adjust your game right before the match, because usually people do have a preferred game, right? I mean, I have a friend of mine that his game is deep half guard, so he will go to deep half guard and do everything from there. But it almost feels like you don't have like
It does. And I feel like, and sometimes I think I should like maybe, and when people ask me about purple belt, like when are you going to get your purple belt? It's times like this that I think well, maybe my fight IQ is not purple belt yet because I don't have answers for things like that. When someone asks me like, "What's your favorite submission?" I don't have a favorite submission. My favorite submission is the one that's available. uh, I really don't. I don't. I try not to cling to anything because whenever I do that, I'm fanatical, and I will. Like for a while, I got really stuck on kimuras, and I would attack a kimura for the whole match and lose a match because I was so set on getting this arm, and I would miss 25 other submission options because I was so
mhm.
set. So I've really worked hard on not attaching myself to anything in particular. And even like I used to only like to be on the bottom, like that was my game. And then I had to change it because I do the absolute. And in the absolute, I have girls I compete against that are 310 pounds.
Yeah, I've seen
And
some of those that you were on bottom, getting all the pressure.
so ideally, right, we don't really want to be on the bottom of somebody that's that much bigger than you if you can help it. And so I had to learn how to be on top. And I train with guys mostly, at the gym. And, you know, you get tired of being on the bottom and just getting smashed all the time. And so it was time for me to learn top. And I did. And once I started doing it, I realized this isn't that bad. So I like top game too now. And so I'm not attached to anything in particular. But I don't know if that's just because I haven't quite reached a level of jujitsu where I've just figured it out,
No,
or
I think
if
it's
I
just because you are really diverse, and as you said, you don't have a preferred submission, whatever is available. That's a great answer, because I think the mindset of I'm gonna get it what is available rather than chasing what I know what to do. You
Yeah.
diversify your portfolio of options, and it's always good to have multiple options. So that's a actually really good way to think.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so going back to that initial question of the bodybuilding, the transition from bodybuilding to jiu-jitsu, because I've seen the other day you posted a picture. I think it was you did a leg workout and you posted a picture of the leg workout, the legs currently and the legs before when you were bodybuilding. Of course, it was way leaner. I mean, the striation division was everything there, and now it is not. It's still big, but not as defined as it was in the past. So the question is, the type of training that you're doing today, do you still lift heavy, or you are way more focused on conditioning?
I do. I try to do both. But when I was bodybuilding, I feel like I didn't lift with an athletic mindset, meaning I wasn't trying to get as deep as I possibly could and be strong in a very flexible, vulnerable position. In bodybuilding, it's like, you go down to a certain level and you come up, and it's very straight. I try to lift now in kind of compromising positions. So like I'll do a lot of inverted leg presses with a Smith machine where it's really, because I try to imitate jujitsu
Hmm.
movement. So I'll get really inverted in my leg presses using a Smith machine, um, and then allow it to literally bring my knees to my shoulders, and then have to leg press out of
Hmm.
that, because that's how I get
But can
stacks
you
sometimes.
still do with heavyweight as you go that deep?
But not like I'm not putting 4 plates, but I can put like 2 or 3 plates on each side of the
Hmm.
Smith and out of there. Yeah. And that's my goal, is like to get stronger. I think I got really strong in the very basic range of motion, but now I'm trying to strengthen deeper, further. And the deeper you get in a squat, the harder it is to come
Yeah.
out, right? So I'm trying to get myself stronger in that very lowest, deepest
Hmm.
position, because that's able to explode out of in
What about
jiu-jitsu. So
what
it's
about
just,
arms? And do you still training shoulders, back? I mean, every single body part, or you doing more like compound training?
I don't do a lot of like side raises and front raises like I used to, like not near as many. I still do them, but I don't do them like I fanatically like we used to. Like that was like staple in your workout, every shoulder workout,
Hmm.
right? I don't do that anymore. I use a lot of grips. So like even whenever I'm rowing or doing any kind of cable pulls, pull downs, I typically use a towel, or I'll keep 2 towels with me. And so I use towels. So I'm grip training at all times with all of my pulls. Because for me in jujitsu, my back, it doesn't matter how strong my back is if my grip can't hold that strength.
Yep.
So getting really strong in my back, using using Versa grips or something. It doesn't make any sense in
Yep.
jujitsu, because it, for me, in my mind. So I really am trying to strengthen my back, but also my grips to be strong enough to bear that strength.
Well, I
So
really admire the fact that you are training very focused on movements that are good for you on your jiu-jitsu game, because it is hard. It is hard to transition from training to have a good physique, which is a completely different type of training than training to a fight where you are focusing specific movements and conditioning, because you would not have the same body shape as you had in the bodybuilding. And it's interesting that you never really mess up with your head. I mean, leaving that sculpture, body shape that you used to train so hard to have, to something
I
more
think the two.
dynamic today.
Well, I actually prefer if honestly now. I mean, when I was focused on bodybuilding, and my goal was my pro card getting bigger was like exciting, and it was the goal, but and clothes and from a feminine aspect and being a girly girl and like wearing dresses and stuff, I prefer my athlete body more than my bodybuilder
Hmm.
body. It's just longer, leaner. Still, I mean, I still have muscle, and you can tell that that I've weight trained quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm gone, but all gone. But it's just a smaller version of the size that I was, and I feel like I've just lengthened the muscles a little bit. They're not so bulky. So
Your weight today is way lower than was when you were training bodybuilding. Like your weight class on jiu-jitsu, I don't remember what was your weight class, but is it a lot difference?
so my weight class in jiu-jitsu, I walk around basically like 155, and I don't really cut for competition. I had to cut this time because we went to Mexico for 11 days and I drank pina coladas. So I had to cut a little bit of weight this time, but it was just like water weight. So I walk around at like 155. I was walking around about 185 in my off season,
Wow.
and then I would cut down to 135 for stage.
Wow. That's a big. So you were cutting 50. Is that it? 50 pound you were cutting?
Yeah, but I did like a 25, 30 week cut.
Mm.
It was slow, like, very long, slow process. It wasn't like a 12-week prep like most people do.
Wow.
So, and I guess, I guess I should say when we started my actual prep, I would probably say I'd already gotten rid of some of that. So that would be like in my bulk. So in my bulk, 185, I think 190, and then as we were getting closer to prep
Hmm.
starting, I go ahead and drop about 15 pounds, and then we would probably start about 175.
So it's
And
amazing that you found the sweet spot. See, nowadays you walk with 155, which is not as dry as 135 as you were, and it's not as big as 185, right? As you were on your peak of bulking. So 155 is your sweet spot. You feel good. You fast. You have strength. You don't lose strength because you don't need to cut, and you have very good condition.
yeah, I feel good at this weight. I could cut down to the next weight class below, but I've cut in the past and I just don't feel good. I like to be able to get up and eat pancakes
Hmm.
before I like to eat. I'm not a person that likes to train fasted, and I definitely don't want to compete fasted. I like to be able to drink Pedialyte and water, be fully hydrated, and have eaten before I compete. So I don't like to cut. I
When
like
you
to stay
when
in
you
my weight.
won the words, you won on this division 155.
Yeah, our weight class in the gi, we have to be under 163.
Okay, so
Um, I actually am already. I think in gi, I may already be in the next weight class below, but I stay in medium heavy because my weight fluctuates. Sometimes, like whenever I travel, when we went to Worlds, actually, I had to cut. Like I actually had to get towels and Epsom salt and sit in the bath for like 3 hours to cut. I think we had to cut like 12 pounds. So
jeez. What
when I
happened
flew
that you have to cut like in the last minute?
because I don't know. I don't travel well a lot of times, and I'll get on a plane and get off the plane, and I'll gain 10 pounds. The craziest thing. So, uh, just for some reason, whenever I travel, sometimes
A
I
lot
don't
of
travel
water
well. And
retention. A
do
lot of
what?
water retention, probably, right?
I'm also a big sweater. Like I'm probably one of the sweatiest people on the mats. So I think it has something to do with that. Like I just flush through. I drink a lot of water. I flush a lot of water, but then I can retain a lot of
Yeah.
water. But I can pretty fast. Like I said, I can get in a sauna or in a hot bath, and I'll just put like some towels on the top of the water to keep the heat in, and I can cut weight pretty fast because it's just water. But I hold water really bad, and I don't know why.
How many matches did you have on the words?
At Worlds, no gi or gi.
Gi.
I won both. In gi, I think there was 3 or 4,
That's
only 4, yeah. Um, and I didn't do the open at Worlds because it was going to be like I was going to have to be there for like another, I think like 4 or 5 hours, and we hadn't eaten anything, and I wasn't feeling it. So I in hindsight, I wish I had stayed now,
are you
but I
planning
didn't
to
stay.
do the Open this year?
In at Masters
Yeah.
Worlds, yeah, if I go.
Oh, you
So
not you don't
I
know if you go yet?
Yeah, I talked to Draculino. I'm signed up. I'm registered for it. I talked to Draculino yesterday. You know, after they put Worlds out, and I registered for that. Then they recently put out American Nationals, and my biggest thing with Worlds right now is as you know, the Brazilians can't come,
Mm-hmm.
and competing at Worlds without the Brazilians and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu just feels it doesn't feel like
Oh,
Worlds.
but there is a lot of
Um,
Brazilians in US.
yeah, there, and you're right. You're right. But not just Brazilians though. But it's world should be everybody should be able to come, and because of travel
Yep.
restrictions, it's not going to be worlds. It's going to be whoever's allowed to be there right now. So just with that said, if I had to pick one, so I went ahead and registered for American Nationals also because I'll be able to compete in gi and no gi there. But it's like a week or two before Masters Worlds. I may end up going to both. And then I found out yesterday too that our belt promotion is November 28th, I think.
So you don't know
So
if the purple is coming.
yeah, so that could, and that's like a few days before I would leave. I think that's like a couple of days before I would have to leave to go to American Nationals. So, there's a lot in the air right now for me. I don't know how that works if I were to purple belt, if I'm already registered at American Nationals, if I would just go ahead and compete at blue. Um, and I think that kind of changes things for me. Like if I purple, I don't know, I guess I would need to talk to Drac and see like if I purple, do I have any business
Mm-hmm.
going straight American Nationals and Worlds,
Mm-hmm.
when competitions in my purple belt. So there, it's kind of like I'm registered for those competitions, but I just found out yesterday that they're having the belt promotion. Usually it's in December, and they said yesterday they couldn't find a date, so they bumped it back. So that kind of threw me off. So, but I'm already registered for both. I talked to Drac yesterday and said if I had to pick one, which one would you pick? And because I haven't won American Nationals
Right.
yet, I've already won Worlds. He said to definitely do American Nationals. He said to do whatever I want. He would support me in either one, but he thinks American Nationals would be good because I can do both gi and no gi.
Yeah, and it is a title that you don't have yet, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so especially so, I was really, I was really in my mind. I was like, oh, that'll be one more thing I can finish out my blue belt. But then they told me that the belt ceremony was November 28th. So I don't know if that's going to happen or
Well,
not.
it'll be
So
nice if he hold your belt and give you on the podium. I think it's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I kind of hope I get. I have all my. I need to get all my medals together for my blue belt. But Jonathan asked me last night how many gold medals I have at blue, and when he asked me, and I started like counting it out in my head and thinking of all the ones I have them in a couple of different places. It's quite a bit, so I'm excited to like get them all out and with my blue belt and maybe take a picture or
That'll
something.
be awesome. That'll be awesome. Well, very inspiring story in both careers that you have. You are super blessed to not never had an injury in none of those sports, and I hope you stay protected like this and strong like this on your purple belt, your brown and black. I'm sure that you're gonna do great when you go to purple. You have a really high level. I've seen your fights. It's always very secure. It's extremely admirable how calm you are. It's always it's like you are just doing your thing, and you have the patience to look to your coach and hearing, because when I'm on the mat I have hard time to hear my coach talk, and I'm so focused that I it's like everything is off. It's just me and the opponent. And it looks like you don't have this problem, and this is shows how calm you are when you're on the mat. So that's a pretty cool thing.
I feel like, and I've actually had other people ask me about that because they've said like when I'm watching you, I literally can hear your coach on your videos, and you respond to everything that they say. I It's weird whenever I'm competing, I don't hear anything else. All I hear is my is Draculino or Lucas, especially those two, Adian. When they're coaching me, I literally everything else goes away, fades away, and I don't hear any of it. All I hear is their coaching, their words, and I'm literally in my head. They'll be like, "Okay, move your right hand to her left foot," and I have to like look at. I'm like in my brain looking at my hands, trying to figure out which one's my right hand, so I can. But
That's amazing.
but yeah, but I do. It's like in the movies, like where everything fogs out and it's just that what's tunnel vision. I get tunnel sound from them. It's very interesting. But Drek has a very a unique voice. I feel like I just he, I can always hear him above everyone else, and I don't know if it's because I hear him in class every day, and I'm so acclimated to his voice, or if it's really like just a unique voice. I'm not sure if other people feel the same way, but that's how I
Yeah,
feel.
no, that's and also because you are calm. Because if you're not calm, you probably will have a hard time to not only hear but also follow the instructions, which is the other thing, right? Because some people they hear, but they don't really follow the instruction, and it sounds like you do follow instructions.
I do. I trust what they tell me over like my own decision making because they can see things that I can't from where they're standing, and they know so much more jujitsu than me, obviously. So if I have somebody willing to give me instruction from the side, and especially my Drac or my coaches and professors, they know me and they know my game. They are building my game as we go. So I very much trust their guidance over my own choices because I put myself in some really compromising situations sometimes.
Amazing, Cassidy. Thank you very much for joining today. It was a great conversation. I think this conversation and all the testimony around both sports is something that will inspire a lot of people. Thank you for taking the time post show on Sunday, where you could be just resting. You open yourself to be available for this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yuri. Have a great
You
day.
too. Take care.